Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now I cannot put it off any longer. I have to tackle it, and yeah, I've been putting it off way too long. Now, one of the main things holding me back from going on track with Stevo are the brakes. They look horrible, they're crusty, the calipers. He needs new pads, he needs new brake lines and new brake fluid. The fluid's boiled, the pads are gone, the discs were shot. Well, the rear discs have been replaced, the front ones are not too bad. I've got new pads, but today is the day we're going to sort out the calipers. So we're going to take off the calipers, we're going to paint them up, clean them up, get them looking really nice, and we're going to stick them back on. So before we do that, let's take a look at what they look like beforehand, and then we'll pull them off. So here Stevo is, and I'm sure you've all seen him on axle stands before, so I won't do a walk around. Yeah, there's the calipers. They look horrible. Months ago, I bought some paint, did a little test patch just to see what colour it dried, and it looks okay. Don't know what it looks like on camera, but once they're done properly, the calipers are gonna look great. So we've got new pads, but we're not doing that in this video. Today we're going to be taking off these calipers. Now I'm 6'9", I got pretty big hands, but look at the size of them. They are absolutely enormous, those calipers. So yeah, take off these calipers, get them painted up, get them looking good, and let's take a look at the rears. Yeah, so the lacquer's gone, and I was bored one day, so I just sanded off a bit just to see if I could get it off, and the paint does come off. So first things first, let's disconnect the brake lines, put them inside a bottle so that the fluid doesn't leak all over the floor, and then remove the calipers. Okay, so the time has come to remove this caliper. Now I've got a bottle here, so I've made a little cut in it, and once I undo the brake line, I'll stick it straight in there, because all the fluid's going to slowly drain out. I don't mind that it drains out because we've got to replace the lines and the fluid at some point. So just be prepared. You don't really want to get brake fluid all over the floor because it's really nasty stuff. So the brake line is disconnected and it's in the bottle. Now we just got to undo the two bolts on the back of the caliper, which I loosened up earlier. Okay, so all the brakes are now off. They've all got the bottles. The fluid dripping out looks a bit browner than usual. It's a little bit of a sign that it's probably a little burnt over time, or it could just be the fact there was a bit of coke in the bottle, I don't know. But yeah, the calipers, they're looking pretty horrible. Now, I've said in a few videos the pads were on the metal. They were not on the metal. It must just be, I don't know why it looked like they were on the metal. The discs just looked tired and pretty manky, so I assumed they were worn down to the metal, but none of them seem to be. I'm not going to do a complete rebuild of the calipers. The car's only on 50,000 miles, and they're clearly all wearing evenly. I just want to make the calipers look a bit better, take off some of the oxidization, and give them a repaint. That with some fresh pads, I think they're going to clean up really nice. So basically, just got to take out the brake pads, then clean them up, sand them down, give them a paint, and job's a good one. So let's go. All the nipples, I'm going to stick them somewhere safe. So then, to take out the calipers, I don't think it's too difficult. Basically, WD-40, and we've got to tap the pins out. So I just use a little socket and an extension just to tap them out. That wasn't too bad. Pads, and the pads are looking rusty. Don't know what's happened there. Don't know if they're maybe just so old that they're not working properly. Is that even possible? The pads expire, go out of date. If you don't work on cars very often, you might not really know how big a caliper is, but that's pretty big for a front caliper. I had a Clio RS200, which had big Brembos on it, and they were about that big. Now, in comparison, look at the size difference to that. The Evo 10 caliper is like twice the size, and they're like twice the size of a normal car caliper. So they haven't skimped on the brakes, have they, Mitsubishi? They really did go all out on these. Now then, let's just get the pads out. Now the fronts are pretty worn, but they're not like down to the metal like I thought they might be. Looking pretty good. Maybe they're just very old and they're not working like they should. Okay, so the calipers, I've gone over them all now with a wire brush on the end of a drill. So all the loose paint's off, all the loose lacquer's off. Now all I have to do is clean them all up now with some chemicals, get them really like bone dry, and then give them a paint. I've gone around all of them, although they're still stinking, inspecting all the seals. That looked like there was a problem, but it looks like they're all doing it. So I wondered if there's some sort of seal, or maybe there is something wrong with it. But they both have the same pattern on them once they were cleaned up, and it's the same on the other side on the front. Now then, just gotta degrease them all, and then you can join me then when I'm ready to paint them. Okay, so I've got some wire running from the beams in the garage, and I've dangled the calipers off. They've been cleaned up with brake cleaner, wheel cleaner, wire brush, so if there's any dirt still on there now, well, there's nothing I can do. I haven't got a sandblaster, so it's going to be a proper DIY job this, but I'm sure they're going to look great. So yeah, while there's discoloration, it's not actually dirt, it's just the paint is actually discoloured on a lot of it. Now then, I've masked up all the important things. I've tried masking up the seals as well, but the tape is just not sticking. So yeah, I don't really know what to do about that. I've covered up the holes for the brake lines, but the masking tape's rubbish, keeps falling off. And also covered up the bleed nipples. Now, oh yeah, and one last thing as well. The red paint, I'm going to paint these with high temperature paint. It's good quality stuff, and it's been in front of the electric fan for about 10 minutes. So they're really hot, which will give it a better coverage when it comes out the gun. Now then, I think it's time to paint them. Okay, so it's the next day now, and the brakes have dried. There was a few runs which I've taken out with a flapper wheel on the brake calipers, especially on the rear. Now what I found was, because I'm using high temperature paint, I think that's what it is. It's very runny and it doesn't really dry very quick. So although I followed the proper sort of procedure, it did run a little bit, but I've taken out the runs. It needs a couple more coats anyway, so just heating up the can of paint on the electric fan again, and once it's nice and toasty, I'll give the fronts of the calipers another couple of coats. Now, obviously, there's no Brembo stickers on these calipers just yet, so I'm going to let them dry properly. I'm going to go to work, and this evening when I come home, I'm going to come back, apply the Brembo stickers. Now, for the rear calipers, they did have the same logo, but a lot smaller on them. I found it really hard to get them stickers that size. Actually, you can't get them. So what I've decided was, I've got the big Brembo sticker, and I'm just going to cut out the Brembo logo, and I'm going to try and stick it on as central as possible there. Good stuff. Now that does not look bad at all, does it? That looks awesome, actually. Especially for a DIY job. I mean, up close, you can see it's not powder coated. It's a DIY job, but you know, from a foot or two away, it looks awesome. Especially with the wheels on, it's going to look, you know, you would not be able to tell. And just another thing as well, the reason I didn't spend the money having them properly done, you know, £500 to £1,000 to have them done by a professional company. It's going to be a track car, and to be honest, these brakes are going to heat up hotter than the paint can handle. So I might have to do this annually to keep them looking presentable. But if I paid all that money to have them powder coated, they're not going to last that long. So it's not really, you know, good value for what I want to do it for. I've had track cars in the past, and I've spent ages. Now I've probably put about 3 days, 4 days into these calipers, and that's a long time, you know, to do a job on a car. I've done it on previous track cars, and after the first track day, some of the paint had actually started to go black. So that's why I'm not spending the money on having them painted properly, because I've done it before and it hasn't lasted in my experience. That looks awesome. Really happy with the result. It's actually got me tempted to take the bells off the center part of the disc on the front and rear and give them a quick spray, but I probably won't bother just yet. Maybe I will in the future. Now then, off camera, I'm going to go around, fit all the calipers, torque up all the bolts, and torque up all the bolts that I had to undo to access the calipers, and then I'll be on to the next video. So thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you've enjoyed. What a transformation for not a lot of money. Sometimes if you're like me, you think, oh, I don't really want to do the cheap alternative. I want to give this car the best I can do for it. You know, they're not cheap cars. You want to look after them properly. But the result, to be honest, it looks pretty good. And I'm not really a painter. I can't paint. I don't know anything about painting, but I fumbled my way through it, and I think it looks pretty good. So I'm sure you guys can attempt it and probably do a better job than I did. Make sure you buy a good quality, high temperature paint. What we can do sometimes, I know I do it, is you look at a £600 job, you think, oh, if I did that myself, you know, I could do it for a fifth of that or a tenth of that. A tenth of that is what it cost me. But then not only will we do that, we'll sometimes go that one step further then and actually get cheap paint as well. So just spend a good 50-60 quid on some paint, get some quality stuff, and hopefully then it will last. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.